I mean, given all the technology we have in this world, it's remarkable that we haven't had an alternative to the combustion engine or an adaptation to the combustion engine that makes the petroleum last longer. And many have long thought that oil companies have bought up patents to allow them to continue to make more money. No one's proven it.
If technology exists to improve gas mileage, why hasn't someone seen it?
The man came to the airfield one day with a 1946 Buick Roadmaster. He had invented a carburetor that was water injected and could get close to 100 miles per gallon. He told us that Shell Oil Company had bought the patent from him, which made him a millionaire. Shell told him he could keep the one on this Buick, but could build no more. Now, the Buick Roadmaster was a very heavy car. Can you imagine what that would save on the lightweight cars of today and our energy consumption? Also, the oil industries would have gone broke. My question, whatever happened to this invention? It's been over 55 years, and I'm sure if it was put on the market with today's technology, it could be even more improved. Sincerely, K.R. Cundy, senior citizen.
There has long been a legend of a water-injected carburetor that enabled amazing gas mileage. Did this man see it?
Well, when he drove out that day, we were racing our cars and we didn't think much of him. We saw this Buick. It was fairly new. I thought maybe he was going to race us too. But he just sat there and he talked to us, and pretty soon he mentioned, he said, I can make this car get close to 100 miles a gallon, and we thought he was just blowing steam, And he raised the hood and we looked at it. I don't know, it just looked like a bunch of crap on there, But anyway, we looked at it and didn't think much of it because it was just a gadget as far as we were concerned, so we didn't think too much more about it. Had to have been 48 or 49. Yeah, those old Buicks, it had 4 holes on the fenders, and that's how you could tell whether it was a 3-holder was a special and a 4-holder was a Roadmaster, and they were big, they were heavy. He mentioned that he had built 3 or 4 of them. He put them on a couple of other cars. We were sitting there talking about it, and he said that Shell told him he couldn't rebuild anymore, and he says, they bought my patent and made me a millionaire.
Proving that gets to be a little more of an issue.
Yeah, we looked at it because it was different, something new. And how it worked, I couldn't tell you. Because it was really just a gimmick to us. We didn't think anything would ever come of it.
Buick Roadmaster, curb weight, 4,465 pounds. Hummer H3, curb weight, 4,700 pounds. The Roadmaster weighs almost as much as a Hummer. What if a Hummer could get 100 miles to the gallon? Did Shell Oil really bury this technology?
They've done a pretty good job covering it up. People who've looked haven't been able to find those patents on the record.
In 1946, a man living within 20 miles of Modesto, California, where Ken Cundy raced cars, registered this patent.
This particular device is a very simple concept that takes water and humidifies it and allows that humidified air to be drawn into a carburation system, such as an internal combustion engine in an automobile. Conceptually, I can see it does a few things. When you add humidity to the air, it allows the thermal properties of the air to cool the engine and make a more even combustion process, which prevents pre-ignition, and that's one of the claims in the patents.
It may readily be seen that with a device of this kind, higher compression ratios can be utilized, materializing more power and fuel economy, and also permitting the use of lower-grade fuels.
That alone is a big improvement in the efficiency of an engine. We all have had the knock in our automobiles before, and so this reduces that. It can also increase power, I believe, by allowing you to use a lower octane gas or just increase your torque. Either one is possible. So I see fuel economy opportunities with this.
Why don't we know about this technology?
Why? That's the question I'm asking, and why I wrote the letter. I says, what happened to that?
Who would you call if you had this idea?
Would you call Shell scientists? What if they had a laboratory less than 10 miles from your house?
Here at the Agricultural Laboratory near Modesto, California, it's a modern laboratory, complete to the last detail.
The old Shell building still exists today. The inventor's son was originally excited to participate in this film, but will no longer return our phone calls.
I believe that maybe Shell wants to sell gas.
Representatives from Shell Oil declined to speak to us.
If I was running an oil company, I would want to make you desire my product as much as possible. And since we're running out of the resource globally, the price for them can only go up. So they're trying to squeeze blood from the stone. They're realizing that they're in the most profitable portion of their business right now. Of course they're doing that. That makes sense.
In 1977, the book Fuel Economy of the Gasoline Engine, which was published by the Shell Oil Company, documents that Shell scientists were able to achieve 149.95 miles per gallon on a 1947 Studebaker. This book is out of print and has disappeared from the Library of Congress. Here are the pages. The Shell Oil Company would not talk to the filmmakers, but in February of 2007, they were able to interview a retired Shell scientist living in England.
My name is David Blackmore, and I worked for quite some years in Shell research. I edited the book called Fuel Economy of the Gasoline Engine. And we normally would test our fuels in real or sometimes prototype vehicles and engines that we would have contact with the motor industry, the motor manufacturers. It began in one form or another. It's 60 years ago, just before World War II, 1939.
A race to see how much gasoline we need to run our car 1/4 of a mile.
During the first vehicle just before the war, I think that particular one was in fact a converted vehicle from a road vehicle at the time, and I think that first one was something like 49, 50 miles per US gallon. When the specials began, it was they managed to get into the hundreds of miles per gallon, but there was still some quite excitement in a few years before the 1,000 mile per gallon barrier was broken, which I think didn't happen until the late 1970s.
What have we been doing while scientists have been getting 1,000 miles per gallon?
The technology's there. It's just no one wants to pay attention to it.
Well, the technology is there, and we could use it in the marketplace. There's no will to do so.
Did this man witness an invention that could have changed history?
I wish we had it today.
I remember reading the patent and going, God, I could do this. This would be easy. I could do that on my old Mustang. The idea is great. I really enjoy reading things like that. People who aren't afraid to say, hey, why aren't we doing this?
It's not unakin to what the oil companies and the motor companies did in Los Angeles when they used their money and their political connections to tear up mass transit lines in order to make way for more automobiles so they can sell more cars and more gasoline.
That is done often. In fact, most patents never get used, either because they're maybe not that great of an idea, or somebody squelches it, such as you might be suggesting here.
As opposed to a local ripoff of Los Angeles, for which there was actually convictions. This is a worldwide ripoff. This is a worldwide crime. It's a crime that is potentially responsible for the polar ice caps melting, for the Icelandic coast falling off, for the warmer weather we're going to have continually, according to scientists, because of the pollution. If we use less petroleum, a lot less petroleum, because there was better technology, our planet would be there longer.
I would bet that the gas prices back in those days were probably around 5 cents per gallon, and the goal was to sell as many gallons as possible. So if Shell, the Shell Group, had their capitalistic hat on, they want to sell as much of it as they possibly can. And maybe nothing else mattered. I don't know their corporate ethics. And maybe it's just pure greed.
If this device had been used instead of shelved, what would the world be like today?
That can't be possible, but it is possible. My name's Ernie Pierce. And for a living, I worked for Continental Airlines. Started out as a mechanic and worked my way up to where I was a technical supervisor. Along came this article in the paper about a gentleman named Tom Ogle down in El Paso, Texas, and he invented a car that would get 100 miles to the gallon. And so I was really interested in this idea. So I read this article and it showed a picture of his car, and the more I read, the more interested I got in what he was doing. So I had an old 72 Pinto sitting in the backyard, and I said, you know, I'm going to try this thing. So I took this 72 Pinto and got myself a propane tank for my little project. So I took the propane tank and took it to a guy and had a chamber put on the bottom, like Tom did with his. One thing you have to understand, the only thing that makes a cylinder pop is vapor. When you run a carburetor, the only thing that makes a cylinder pop is vapor. When you run fuel injection, the only thing that makes that engine run is vapor. It's whatever vaporizes in that cylinder under pressure that burns. Raw gasoline will not burn. If you flood a car, you can't get it started, and it's got all the gasoline in the world in it. So if you only put vapor in the cylinder, you're going to get 100% burn. It's not anything like the car that I worked on, but I can give you an example of what I would do if I wanted to run this car on vapor. You know, I'd take the suction line and I'd hook it up to a tank here so it was pulling a vacuum into this suction line. It would run through the air conditioning compressor out the pressure line. I put a reducer on it and bring it around and put a vapor carburetor here and run it through a vapor carburetor so I run on vapor. If I ran out of gas vapor, I'd flip a switch and I'd run on gasoline. So that's the secret. Now that's basically what Tom did. He was running strictly on vapor that comes off of gasoline. That's why he got 100 miles to the gallon. I didn't get 100 miles to the gallon with my system because it wasn't as good as it could be. But if you took it to a dealer or a major company, they could improve upon the idea then, and we'd have something fantastic today.